You ready? Oh.
Hang on. Let's just check it. Let's just check it. It's the right one.
We can never do this properly. Right, 3, 2, 1, a bell. Oh, that'll do. Hello and welcome to Tea Time episode. I have no idea, probably in the 30s still. And here I am joined with my friend James again. And this time around, we're going to be polluting your ears with the ideas of future sort of ideas for Final Fantasy XIV in patch 5.3 and maybe beyond. This will be a lore-specific sort of guesstimate, and there's going to be a lot of stuff that we get wrong. And there's going to be a lot of probably very confused commenters who probably have some way better ideas than us. But it is what it is. So just to reiterate, this will have 5.2 spoilers in it because that's, well, probably majority spoilers for the game. Just because that's what we use as a backdrop for any predictions going forward. It makes sense. So if you've not completed 5.2 at least, I sincerely would say don't watch this video. But you have been warned now, and we are going to move on to that in just a moment. But first of all, hi, James. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm pretty good. Apart from the drama that happened this morning. I turned my computer on, like I said to you earlier, and it sounded like a diesel train. So one of the fans, like the exhaust fan basically on the back, was not seated properly somehow. I don't know how that happened overnight. And effectively, I ended up fixing it by giving it a good whack. Probably
Isn't
not
that how you fix everything?
Don't give away my trade secrets. But yeah, if something's not working right or is making a weird sound, just give it a bit of a tap or a bit of a whack. You'll be surprised. I need to basically get some compressed air and do a bit of cleaning, but I don't think it was anything to do with that. It just literally had like slightly unseated itself. And I don't know how it had done that, so a bit of a whack helps. It does wonders, right? Just punch your computer. That's the way you get everything to work properly.
Maybe you've got pixies.
Maybe, yeah, like dust pixies or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like little pixies that live inside my PC and decide just to mess things up for no particular reason. I'd go for that.
They've gone on holiday from Ilmeg to your house.
Yes. So as you can see, we are using, I guess, a slightly empty Yulmore at this point because it's not peak time or anything where normal people would be on because everyone's gone back to work. And we are stood near this aetheryte. We were just joking that this is one of those new fangled low energy sort of aetheryte crystals because it's putting out such heavy, like weird blue, whitey light that it's so bright. We had to be this far away. Otherwise, it's just basically making our characters look like ghosts. It's quite good. Quite good indeed. But for some reason, it's like one of the brightest aetherytes in the game. Who'd have known?
Yeah. It's also red. It's also got a red tinge to it.
A red tinge to it. I'm not moving the camera to check.
No.
It's very bluey white, like most aetherytes should be. But usually they're like a soft light, like a yellowy kind of backdroppy light. If you remember, I don't know if you know this, but in 1.0, all of the aetherytes, as far as I remember anyway, were actually orange.
No, I didn't play 1.0.
Yeah, they were like orange light for some reason. And now they're all blue. Interesting. I'm sure there must be an orange. There might be an orange one somewhere in the game. I don't know.
They changed the RGB settings on the aetherytes.
Yeah, it's about that time to bling out their aetherytes, isn't it? Probably go for some like color waves, you know, like go through the rainbow and stuff. That's my idea of a cool aetheryte.
Oh yeah,
that'll be next. That'll be one of the 5.3 features, won't it? Like RGB setting aetherytes for your house.
Ooh, that'd be cool.
And maybe at the same time we get a glamour dresser. So anyway, let's talk about lore. Let's talk about the story and what we think is going to actually come from 5.3. But it's important to go over what we already kind of know, right, in 5.2. So in 5.2, pretty much we saw the sort of the build up towards the end of this storyline. And it all kind of revolves around Elidibus and kind of revolves around this really strange idea of maybe this new warrior of light or something, or the idea of him basically trying to throw the balance of the thirst again, right? Get people to do it. So
I'm not sure what his end goal is in this point. But
maybe to undo all of the work we've done, basically get people to be do-gooders and do too-good work again, like happened originally. And it seems to be working so far by tricking the people into thinking that he is basically the messenger of God. We've seen this in history before.
Yes.
And it's a big smack around the face, really, isn't it? It's very obvious what they're attempting to allude to. And I honestly think that's what he's attempting to do. How that really helps anything is another question entirely. Apart from the deep-seated hatred that Elidibus has for Hydaelyn, but he's always been that sort of back figure that's seen the force of balance, hasn't he? He's always wanted to preserve both sides. So how this fits in? Maybe he's just like cracked the fact that we actually, got rid of Hades / Emmett Salk. So all of his friends are kind of messed up, gone to some extent. So maybe this is his final, actually, I have to do something now, or...
Isn't it more he's gunning for us rather than the first?
But if he was going directly for us, why wouldn't he just do something with us instead of basically...
There was that cutscene, wasn't there? I can't remember if it was 5.1 or 5.2.
Refresh me.
Where he basically says, well, you're now the Warrior of Darkness. Well, what do we do with that? And, well, we'll send in the Warriors of Light.
Oh, I see. But, I guess, yeah, trying to turn the people against you. I mean, that's the biggest enemy, but it's not going to happen.
No, I was
due
wondering
to how many people we've saved or altered the lives of in this storyline. I doubt it would work. And it's kind of stupid for him to think, if that is his goal, for him to think that would work.
Yeah.
It's very Batman villain.
Yeah.
If you think about it, it's like, well, I'll just turn everyone against you by saying that you touched that,
I don't even want to know what
I don't know. I was going with a burnt face man thingy, but I realised this is PG, so we can't go that direction. Oh, dear. If you want some education, go watch the Burnt Faced Man YouTube series.
God.
Yeah, definitely part of our childhood growing up.
Yes.
But so I guess everybody's question is 5.3, right? Who is the last boss? Now I'm going to say Elidibus with an altered version of him, like what we saw with Hades, and I'll come to what I think it is. But who do you think it could be? Go on, give you your best go.
It's got to be Elidibus, surely. But I think maybe in his Arbut film, maybe bringing back the Warriors of Darkness in the first phase.
So
the originals.
So you think it would be like, how many is it? There's 6, isn't there? Is this
5?
There's 5, right?
Because it's 4 role quests in Arbut, isn't there?
That's right. So you've got the 5 Warriors of light / darkness, depending on what day of the week it is and where we're located. And you're thinking that we'll have like a gauntlet? Because the new dungeon is called the Hero's Gauntlet in 5.3, which gives credence to the idea of maybe fighting. It would be plausible to say, hey, look, here's the Warriors of Light. You're facing against them. You must defeat them, even if they're just, spirits or whatever, or corrupted, whatever they want to call them. Maybe even against their own will. Maybe their spirits have been forced to fight under Zodiac's command. And then maybe past the Hero's Gauntlet, we finally get that Elidibus fight. So basically using our own enemy / friends that we are kind of partial to, thanks to those role quests, against us, and then in a dungeon, and then the trial, maybe Elidibus. But you're thinking that the trial itself could be the 5.
It could be, and then having Elidibus in the final form. Although the dungeon would make more sense, because then he would have something like the Warriors of Light from old have returned and the Warriors of Darkness have destroyed them.
Yeah.
Sort of thing, to try and push people, towards...
Because the point of it being called the Hero's Gauntlet is they're not shying away from the meaning behind that. A gauntlet is a series of activities that you must persevere through to get to your ultimate goal, and it's deliberately a thing to test you. So, I mean, surely he knows that the essence of somebody isn't going to even remotely hold up against us, unless like they are stupidly empowered versions of themselves with Zodiark's true power, which Elidibus might have the ability to bestow. We've not seen much of him, but he's always hanging out on the moon, which is something I'll bring up a bit later as to what I think he actually is.
Although there is still the Ascian underlings, isn't there? Like the sundered ones they brought in.
That's true, yeah.
They could glamour them into the other four and have like sort of Ascian face-off sort of thing.
Well, another thing that people forget is that, you know, the names like Laha Brea and Iligeorm and stuff like that are actually, for the most part, I believe, titles. Like Elidibus itself is a title, not actually a person. So even though we've killed, quote-unquote, Laha Brea, there could very easily be a Laha Brea in this trial, for example. It could be those underlings who have been basically granted those titles finally. Think about it. If they would wear the same mask, they would have the same powers. They're just not the same. Ascian.
I don't think they'd have. Do they have the same? Because they're sundered, aren't they?
No, I guess.
So maybe
like reflections of.
Maybe they wouldn't have like a true form like Hades and that.
Yeah, they wouldn't have a final form because a true Ascian, as far as we can tell, are the only ones that can like actually reveal that true form. So they would just be stupidly powerful masked people. So there's two major ways they could do that. Other ideas though, what is the wildest thing that you could imagine as an actual last boss? I've seen people recommend that it could be Xenos or like Xenos.
I think they're building up Xenos for the end of Zodiark Hydaelyn.
I think they're building him up for 6.0 at this point. I know.
I'm not sure, because I think 6.0 were more likely going towards Garlemald, and he's already seen he's not interested in Garlemald, is he?
Yeah, but I kind of have this horrible back feeling in the back of my throat that Xenos is going to be the main villain of yet another expansion, and we're not going to fulfill the actual axe in the head sort of situation. He's dragging on, personally, I feel. And they're kind of developing the resonant sort of storyline as well. And I don't know, there's obviously 4 Dola that we're going to have to see back in the front of the frame soon, because she is not a normal person, and she needs to have some airtime again.
Yeah, she's currently defeating primals, isn't she?
Yeah. That's exactly right. If you read the side stories, as James has just said, she's off. What was it? She was fighting Garuda with that. What's his name?
Avenreld or whatever the hell his name is.
Orenveld or whatever. Yeah. So she's pretty busy, basically making up for lost time. But she is capable of slaying primals. She is basically us at some point, like a demi-us. She has that sort of power.
False Echo.
Yeah. Not as kick-ass, I don't know. Fordola's pretty good. I like her accent as well. It reminds me of Game of Thrones actors. Come over here. What have you done? You know, almost Yorkshire.
Yeah, it just occurred to me, we're a bit short on antagonists at the moment, aren't we?
Apart from Elidibus, and who isn't really... I don't know if he's even a villain at this point.
Yeah, he also has the...
See, Emmett Selk took so much of the jam out of that donut, so to speak, like the idea that the Ascians are these evil people. And then it's like all of the 5.2 stuff was actually like, no, they're normal people. They've lost everything. They just want to be reunited. You're the bad guy, but you might even be one of them. That was how this whole story has been leading up so far, that you're probably even an Ascian.
Yeah, because we had the discussion where we thought we might even be the ones who summoned Hydaelyn in the first place.
That's right. Yeah, we had a discussion off of recording where we were like, what would it take for the final reveal to be? Actually, we were one of the ones that ended up summoning Hydaelyn or Zodiark, and each way you look at it is a very, very bad way. But it would also make sense why we have such connection to Hydaelyn or such connection.
And why MXL was so interested in us.
Yeah. We could have been one of his best buddies all those many thousands of years ago, or was it 5,000?
Isn't that given at the moment, given the talk we had with the Amarok dude in one was.
Oh yeah, the caretaker guy who was like, "You look familiar" and all this, and basically was. Yeah, you basically knew who you was, because the only way that those shades would react to the presence of a person is if they were basically, it was like resonating with a memory of Emmett Selk, right?
Because that dude was broken, wasn't he, in the memory?
Yeah.
Because he was close to Emmett Selk as well.
Yeah, and the reason that he was given thing is because as Emmett Selk was thinking of Amarok to recreate it, his mind wandered to those that they had lost, and he thought randomly of that person, that individual, that cloaked guy, and he came to be with that thing, and that's how we had that sort of resonation with him, because that dude recognized us the same way that Emmett does.
He also could see Ardbert.
This is true, which is interesting.
Yeah. Although I do think it does lead credence to the ones we actually summoned Hydaelyn, because when he looks at us before the Hades fight, I think, where he looks and it looks like we're one of the Amarok dudes.
Yeah.
And he seems a bit angry.
Maybe, yeah, because the whole
when
reason...
He's going, no, it can't be you.
The whole reason that Zodiac was summoned is because the others summoned Hydaelyn, right?
No, Zodiac was summoned first.
Oh, that was right. And then Hydaelyn was summoned, otherwise,
So, because half of them sacrificed themselves just to sustain him.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah.
So...
Amarok is like my favourite dungeon of all time.
So you've got those two sides to that.
Yeah.
Almost rival factions within the same study of stuff. All of the side stories that they've written on like the Lodestone and stuff, especially like the whole thing with Emmett Selk and the testing and the stuff with La Brea, that whole it's just fascinating the way that they were running experiments. They were doing very much all of the things that the Alleg Empire did to try and find a way to preserve life, to find a way to sustain immortality, but at the same time further what they could do, what they could achieve, what they could create with their mind.
Yeah, that's baffling. I wonder if that is where the echo actually comes from. I wonder if it's like
perhaps
a version of the creation magics.
Like a very literal echo of it?
Yeah, because like it's sundered, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's an echo of its true power.
Yeah, so like, because from what I see, echoes seem to be quite unique. So I wonder if people with the... I mean, I don't know how actually common the echo actually is.
Well, it seems to be fairly common in some people. Like we've seen quite a few characters that we've been introduced to that have the echo, apparently. I'm trying to remember what I was looking at the other day. I was surprised to read, like, oh yeah, this person has the echo. Who was it? Oh, I don't know. But there's people outside of the Scions that have it. There's like, what's his name? In the Rising Stones, there's a couple of like random people who are like honorary members of the Scions that also have the echo.
Overrealm has the echo. That's the one I can remember.
Yeah, he has it. Yeah. Monago, I think. Didn't she?
Was it?
I can't remember. Citation needed.
Yeah.
But
but it seems there's not particularly many that we know about in game.
But there is enough to make you go, well, actually.
There must be enough, because you have that squad that's Fordolas, isn't there? Because it's not just two people; there's a squad of them.
Yeah, and it seems to be something that can be given as well. It doesn't seem to be like something that
I don't know if it can be given.
Well,
because I think what Fordolas is basically ripping the soul out of Kryl, isn't it, and cramming it in someone else.
What happened with that whole thing? We didn't get any answers to that. Is Kryl okay? Is she the same sort of person still anymore? Like, what happened there? Because
I think they siphoned off like part of their ether, didn't they? And then
does it regrow?
I don't know.
Is Kryl okay?
But here's the point I always had a bit of an issue with what Kamau redoing is. Did they specifically target Kryl for this? Because if there's a load of people with the Echo, why would they target one of the Scions?
I think because her her aptitude for ether control was so high because she studied at Charlian, and she was wasn't she one of the youngest back then when the Academy of the Charlian they were like getting people, and she was inherently born with the echo, which was like a big bonus. Then she had the adaptability to like weave ether into whatever magics, so she basically got straight into that college. So maybe it's the study and the natural talent out of anyone else that attracted them. I mean, we've not really seen Kryl in a proper actual battle in the main storyline yet. We've only seen like Thancred and the likes.
Yeah, it just baffled me really. Why they'd target someone when you know you gonna get proper pushback by the Scion.
Yeah, but she didn't really put up much of a fight either in that whole situation.
No.
She was just
I think she's more academic than fighty.
And I guess that's maybe why they went for her. If you think about it, someone who's got stupidly powerful abilities and the throughput in their, I don't know, their mind or whatever it is that controls ether, but is completely, to some extent, more defenseless than everyone else. They knew for a fact if they went after somebody like Thancred, it'd just rip him a new a-hole.
Yeah, but
try.
You've also got these 7 odd adventurers who help us out. They all have the echo.
That's true, yeah. There's a lot of weird situations that have never been tied up.
Yeah, unless of course they just basically don't know much about the echo and thought, well, we've got it. We're no chance of getting us. Oh, she's got it, so we'll have to go after her instead. They don't know if it's prevalent, I suppose.
Let's just jump for a second to, we had a previous discussion. Again, I wish we recorded all of our conversations. One of them we had was the idea I brought to you where I created a new character the other day for a video. And when I created that character, I saw one of the first things you actually see is meteors falling from the sky.
Yeah, I remember you saying that.
Right? Yeah. And it kind of threw me off a bit. It's only a few seconds, and then like you awake from the thing. It's like a vision, right? But I think that's a flashback, and it's linked to the final days of Amarok, basically.
Yeah.
And you're actually witnessing you summoning Hydaelyn, which gives you the whole reason of why the first thing you see is Hydaelyn, right? You emerge from light. You don't know who you are, right? So if you think about it this way, what we talked about in that discussion for the people watching this is, say, for instance, many thousands of years ago, you were on this brink. Zodiark had been summoned. Hydaelyn is then summoned. You summon Hydaelyn as a member of that Ascian or whatever, the ancient people, to combat that. But the price is that it needs a sacrifice. And that person whose sacrifice forgets about who they are. They lose their normal Ascian form, and they have to choose a new corporeal form. And that's kind of like that punishment as part of that, right? As part of like sundering or whatever, right? And the first thing you see when you log in is not actually character creation. It's actually you choosing a new corporeal form for your soul. And then when you press the start button, the first thing you see after that is Hydaelyn. You emerge out of light in this new form. Hydaelyn says this whole, hear, think, feel thing. Then you see a flashback of the meteors falling from the sky. And then the game's like, hey, look, you woke up on this cart. That is not a coincidence. And we talked about this. And we both believe that this has been set in stone as the entire storyline from the first ever day that A Realm Reborn was fought about.
Yeah, some really crazy stuff.
But it gets really nuts if you think about it. The further you push that idea, the more you realize, hold on a minute, this makes more and more sense. And you've got to think, this is patch 5.3 we're coming up to now, right? Yeah. And this was all thought about, in theory, if we're right about this, the core concept of that storyline of what your character actually is, actually being an Ascian, from the day you logged in A Realm Reborn.
Which is crazy.
Which is nuts. And maybe even some of that idea was probably floating about in 1.0, but they probably didn't go with that. Yeah. I think that was probably an entirely different thought process, but it just shows you how good the writing is. If we're right about this, then you can predict a lot of the things that are going to come.
Oh yeah,
you really can, because there's going to be that realization finally of who we are. Then we're going to be having a situation of, are we actually this character we have created? Do we have these friends and family? Or are we actually more going to be on the side of, hey, we kind of want to bring back the world to how it was? And that may be the way that Zodiac preys upon us in some form or another, trying to persuade us to be that the person to actually bring about the rejoining would be us. We would be the most powerful entity to do it. And the interactions with Emmett Selk throughout that, where he very much identifies us as an equal in many ways throughout that storyline, and he builds upon that and tests us and says, oh yeah, you actually are more than I thought you might be, because he never gets to tell us why, because he doesn't want to reveal that. He knows that our memories are shattered, but he has this, like you said before the Hades fight, there's that real identification of who you actually are, the triggering in his mind of what you are doing, basically going against your own people.
Yeah. There's also a theory that we're actually an extension of Heidelin herself.
Yes, and that theory is very interesting, because that means, somebody mentioned this on Reddit, I think it was, there was a theory that we are the heart of Heidelin, and that Elidibus is the heart of Zodiac.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting theory. It also means that you could have an anime-style battle at the end of all of this, with like the power of Heidelin in you and Zodiac in them. I don't know. It's an interesting idea. There's lots of cool things.
Be a good way to end the Heidelin Zodiac arc, wouldn't it? Which
is apparently coming towards that, isn't it? Wasn't that the quote?
7.0, really, wasn't it? Around that?
Yeah, so we've got the end of the Shadowbringers arc, which really answers all of the Heidelin Zodiac questions, supposedly. This expansion is supposed to answer the questions, and then furthermore, we're supposed to be dealing with that situation of gods and all this, and elder primals, etc., which is going to be quite a highlight. But yeah, the 5.3, which is a lot closer to home. That's why I said we were going to be talking about 5.3 and future stuff. 5.3, we both think it's going to be Elidibus, but in terms of the final form, because we're going to see a Hades type thing. Maybe when Yoshi P said it won't be who you think, he wasn't inferring to the fact that, oh, it will or won't be Elidibus. Maybe he was inferring that we wouldn't be able to guess what the final form would be, such as Hades, etc. So what do you think the final form would be? Being somebody who hasn't, as far as I know, played any of the Final Fantasy games, so we have to give you that, right? We have to give you that leeway. But at the same time, what would you think would be the perfect sort of representation? If you had it in your mind, what would you think would represent Elidibus in the form of a monster, or whatever you want to call it?
Oh, I wouldn't know.
Okay.
I mean, given he's meant to be a balance between light and dark.
Right.
I don't know anything that's actually a balance between light and dark.
Okay. So there's quite a few things in Final Fantasy history that come very close to it. And the biggest theory at the minute, one that I share with so many people on the internet, is that it's Zeramus or Zemus. Basically, I will give you a bit of a backstory. So, how do I start with this? So, Zeramus is essentially, in Final Fantasy IV, all the way back then, Zeramus is the final boss of that game, right? You basically end up going to the moon on a whale. This is going to sound really unusual to you. You go to the moon, and at the core of the moon, there's this character called Zemus. Zemus dies, but from Zemus's body comes this spiritual form, which is Zeramus, and that's how it appears in that game. In Final Fantasy XII, Zeramus is known as the Condemner, which is an Esper of gravity, right? But there's more story to do with that. In the Bestiary entry for Final Fantasy XII, it says, and I quote, "The strongest of the scions created by the gods, they feared his growth, so they kept him a child. So indomitable is his strength, that all things are by him twisted and pressed into oblivion. He alone fashioned the laws governing all things, and administers punishment in place of the gods. So he is keeper of precepts, and his authority is absolute." Right, so you're tying up the idea that this is a deity basically that's on behalf of God, so to speak, to enact laws and administer punishment for them, to keep balance. That's ultimately his goal, all right? In that whole cycle of how things work within the Scions, as they're calling it, which is basically Ascians, right? They deliberately haven't put Zeramus in the game so far. In Final Fantasy XII, it was an Esper, an optional one that you could go against, you could gain, and basically it shared a lot with Zodiac itself, which is also from Final Fantasy XII. When you look at Final Fantasy XII, all of the Espers so far, I believe, are actually in the game, in the Return to Ivalice series. So we have Mateus, we have Harshmal, it goes on. They're actually the same models as well. That's something you might not know. Final Fantasy XII, Harshmal is the same model. Mateus is the same model. All of them are in that game, apart from Zeramus and Zodiac. So you have a connection of Zeramus being an entity you fight in Final Fantasy IV, on the moon, right? We have Final Fantasy XII, which is basically saying he's all about balance, and basically it's the same kind of thing. That sort of preceptor. The link to Scions, which they can reuse that term. The idea that it's part of a collective. He is judge, jury, and executioner. But it's mostly all about balance. And then you have the fact that in Final Fantasy XIV, Elidibus is always seen on the moon in various cutscenes, be it with Ardbert, be it at the end of 5.0, be it as far back as you can remember. There's always been the white-cloaked Elidibus on the moon, and it's always been that sort of suggestive plotline. The moon, as we know, is actually where Zodiac is currently. That's his entrapped place. And is even the cutscene at the end of, is it Stormblood? I can't remember. The end credits. And then there's a scene where Elidibus, and then it pans over, and is that purple thing on the moon? Yeah. Right, that purple thing, okay, is exactly the same shape, right? That is the model of Zodiac from Final Fantasy XII. I'm not even kidding. It is the same model.
Yeah.
I can put that side by side on the monitor for people. It is literally the same model. So, I don't know, man. They're going very close to Final Fantasy XII with their models. There's a lack of a certain boss from there. It makes sense in terms of what his form would be if he was to be like an Esper or a summon type creature, a primal, if you will, or whatever, right? Their primal form.
Does actually, especially being an emissary from the gods.
Right. So, I mean, obviously there's the idea that the other theory is that he's the heart of Zodiac, which mean he would be an avatar of Zodiac, so to speak. I mean, what else? I don't know. In terms of other ideas for bosses, pretty much none of them I can think of, from any other game at least. If we're going with that route, which they've gone for quite a bit, makes any sense at all.
Although, if he's the heart of Zodiac, it basically means he can't be the last boss in 5.3, right?
Unless...
I mean, how do you defeat the heart of Zodiac?
Well, maybe that's part of, like, the awakening of it. I don't know. How do you free Zodiac from its prison? We're not talking about a rejoining. We're talking about freeing it from its prison. Maybe the slaying of Elidibus would free it.
Maybe. That would be an interesting take, wouldn't it? Yeah. Accidentally freeing Zodiac.
You destroy the avatar that Zodiac is perhaps even trapped in, and then it was all a ruse all along. Oh, look, you've actually freed Zodiac. Oh, God. And then you've got 6.0 and 7.0, which is like the final massive battles to do with this stuff leading up.
That kind of defeats the point of the rejoinings in the first place, though, right?
It kind of does. I don't know. I'm thinking from an anime or epic sort of storyline scale, which is complete garbage, probably. But you've got to think, right? You've got to speculate.
I suppose you could fight Elidibus, but just don't kill him. I mean, you could literally have it where you defeat him, but the white auracite doesn't work.
Oh, yeah. You just, like, summon a load of auracite spikes, stick it in his chest, and he just laughs.
Yeah, because he's not actually an Ascian.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. That could work.
And he just basically like shifts form, and it's literally Zodiac.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, and then he just disappears.
That would be such a disappointing yet just scary moment.
Yeah.
Because we would feel like tiny. We'd feel this small against that sort of power. But you've got to do something like that, because you can't just keep giving the idea that we, as the Warrior of Light / Darkness now, Warrior of Light and Darkness, it says on that t-shirt, you know, we can't just keep giving our character power never-endingly without some reason to it. If the bad guys are really that thick, then I'm really upset about that. I honestly think it's all a ruse to try and give us as much power as possible so that we are basically killing these people, quote unquote, but it's their job to do that. They're not showing their full potential, their full power. They're bending to us basically to build us up towards our ultimate goal, which is probably, in Zodiac's eyes, to actually initiate a rejoining and kill all of our friends. But it's going to be the idea of perhaps, you know, being torn between the idea. I mean, it's obvious which route we're going to go, right? The goody one. But there will be that dilemma of which route will Meoni go? Will she destroy everybody she's ever known to bring back all of these people that she's only just remembered about, that, you know, this whole thing started with? Or will it be Y'shtola? That's a tricky one. You know,
well, I suppose you could also put the dynamic in of how the Suns react when they realise that you're the one who sundered the world.
Yeah, wouldn't you have a blade to your throat at that point? I don't know.
Some of them probably. I mean, what if you're the ones who summoned Zodiac? How would they react to that?
Oh, if we would, I mean, that's less plausible. But if we were something to do with Zodiac, then how would that even work? I don't know.
Well, the people who summoned Zodiac, not all of them survived the sundering, did they?
No.
Us being sundered, basically, then, because we're just a fraction of what we used to be.
Mm.
If we have no memory of that, then Heidelin could have literally pounced on it. There's a sort of...
I have another theory now, just popped into my head. If we're going to be jumping to this world and we've basically sucked in Ardbut's energy, right? Yeah. Aren't we basically regaining another part of ourselves? So there's what?
Yes, we're 8 parts rejoined now, isn't it?
We're 8? Really?
It's 8, yeah. I think it was... Wasn't it... didn't he say blah, 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 7 times rejoined, and then Ardbut rejoined us, didn't he?
So we've got 5 more to go then? 13, yeah?
No.
How many
14.
more parts is there?
It's 14, isn't there? There's 14 altogether.
So 6 more parts.
Because you've got the 13 shards and the source.
So if we get 6 more parts, we will become unsundered, and then we'll actually have a primal form.
We would become fully powered, yeah, I suppose.
Yeah, but as we know, those that are not sundered, that are Ascian, have a final form, Hades, etc.
They're also immortal.
Yes. So do we... Well, we might as well be immortal at this point anyway.
But here's the thing, is it actually their actual form, or is it just something they're taking? Because they can change their form at will, can't they?
I don't know. Maybe it's like they had to... Maybe you're like... Imagine you're at school, okay? Like Hogwarts or something, right? And you've got to think to yourself, you've got to... This is over time. You're like, think of the most powerful thing you could be, the most horrific desires possible. And that's just a personification of that takes forever to actually come to. So it's not like they have a choice, but if they release their inner hatred, then that's their actual form, basically manifested.
It could basically be like... Yeah.
Very anime.
Well, you'd imagine that they would have... Ascians would have access to all the creation magic the Amarot dudes... I can't say whatever they are. Amarot dudes had.
Amarotians? Or...
Yeah, that's the one.
Okay, yeah.
I'm not going to attempt it.
That's fine.
You'd imagine they'd have all the access to the same creation magic, right? Even because they're not sundered.
You would think so. But there were certain people like Emmett who were very much in the study of specific departments, right? Emmett was all about creating weird life forms and stuff, along with La Brea.
Recreated Amaro.
This is true. That was part of his art, wasn't it? Like his ability.
So then their final form could literally be whatever they wanted it to be. I suppose the power doesn't change, just how they depict themselves. I mean, literally, Hades could have been one of the monstrosities from Amarod that MXL remembered and decided to show against us.
That's true. I have one more question to really give you, and this is a really tough one. Okay, so Xenos right, has been currently... We found out that... Because originally, when 5.2's trailer came out, we were like, oh my god, what is Xenos doing on the first? He turned out he wasn't. And that was actually a dream that he had of Amarot falling. So why is he having dreams of Amarot falling? And why do they keep reappearing? Because he keeps saying it's the same dream over and over again to that white cloaked guy. What is he?
Well, he's a resonant, but then, as noticed, Elizabeth left something in Xenos' body when he fled. Because when Xenos took his body back, he suddenly knew about Hydaelyn and Zodiac and the Primals. So I'm guessing it's part of the echo power using Elizabeth's memory to Elizabeth at the fall of Amarot.
So if it's growing stronger and more repeated, doesn't that mean that whatever was left there in Xenos is actually growing? And like, what is he becoming? Is he going to have all of Elizabeth's memories of how to do everything?
Well, it's got to be some kind of trick, because Elizabeth just left. Didn't even bother fighting Xenos.
Yeah.
He kind of went, oh, it's you, and left. And I was thinking, well, the dude's an Ascian with, like, untold power.
Yeah.
You can't be that scared of him, surely.
Unless
so then I'm thinking he's planned this. I mean, why would you take Xenos' body in the first place?
Well, yeah, there is that. It is also like, I don't remember. What is the correlation between, because the whole like Garlean Empire thing was created by Emmett, right?
Yeah, and the Ascians, yeah.
Right. So what percentage of them is Ascian?
I think.
Any?
Well, I think he just became the leader, didn't he, of the group that got disposed, and then.
So it wasn't bloodline or anything.
Well, I suppose they gave them, because they can't manipulate ether, which makes them the perfect puppets, doesn't it, when you're an Ascian. And then, as they do, they basically gave the Garleans Magitech, because they have to create chaos, don't they, to what about the rejoinings?
Yeah, I suppose.
Also, it was theorized, and he did kind of inkling that he also created the Allegan Empire.
Yes, and that's a really, really interesting idea.
So, is their plan? They're creating these empires like Allegan, and then once a calamity, it wipes them all out, and then there's no history of it. So then they start again for the next one.
There is also the fact that because I've been reading to people in the lore series that I've been going through it in a minute as well, of the whole idea that Xande, I mean, is immortal. He was resurrected by Amon, and for all intents and purposes is immortal. But I don't think we fought the actual Xande at the top of the Crystal Tower. I think that was one of his clones, because he was cloned so many times.
Oh yeah.
So
like Emmett. It kind of has similarities to Emmett self, don't you think?
Xande is very, very, very similar to the whole Ascian idea. I think ultimately what has happened, because there was a whole deal with the Cloud of Darkness as well, which unfortunately we defeated Cloud of Darkness in that Alliance raid, which, whilst it was fun...
We defeated doesn't mean we killed.
Right, it was still very... put the foot down sort of thing, and they didn't think a little bit, because Cloud of Darkness is supposed to be insanely powerful.
So are we thinking that random crazy theory that Xande's actually the Ascian that messed up the Void?
I mean, I don't know.
He could come back.
Is Xande an Ascian? That's the question, isn't it? Is Xande actually, was he an Ascian in the first place? But then he wouldn't be able to die, because he died canonically and then was resurrected by Amon using all kinds of crazy stuff.
But that's written by people who don't know.
Yeah. Oh, I guess before. Hold on a minute. Maybe if you look at the calamities up to the calamity of fire, so the fourth astral or whatever it is, I think it's the fourth astral, was basically just after the fourth astral I'll get this wrong probably, or is it the third, is when the Empire was created. So are we actually saying that the Allegan Empire is the Ascian Empire? And and basically what happened was they were all mortal. Then they discovered through the technology and faith and magic, they discovered how to wield it all in such a thing that they resurrected Xande, and that resurrection process was the first creation of an Ascian.
No, I don't think so.
Is that too far?
I think so, because they kind of allude to the fact that they've been around for eons.
Yeah.
I think maybe, I mean...
That would be cool, though.
Pact with a Cloud of Darkness kind of makes sense if they want to try and maybe they try and rejuvenate the void so they can rejoin it, because they can't rejoin it at the moment because it's too devoid of ether. So with Xande trying to make a pact to the void get through, they're basically channeling ether from the source into that, maybe to spark it back to life, so then they can rejoin it.
And a major way of doing any of this is using the Crystal Tower.
Well, yeah.
But the thing is, wasn't there also the fact that we have to, at some point, wake up the Grahatir in our world? Because he's still...
Well, that was kind of alluded
away.
to at the end of 5.1, because Crystal Exile literally goes, come on, Grahatir, now is not the time for sleeping.
Yeah. So it's a time paradox sort of thing. Kinda.
Yeah, I'm thinking at some point he will awaken. I mean, he awakes at some point now, so he wouldn't be the Crystal Exile, would he?
It's going to be so weird, though. Maybe we're the ones that wake him and then tell him of the journey that he has to go on.
Oh, that would be right.
That would be a real cluster of... That would be so good, though.
Yeah.
Like, creating that paradox, the whole thing was started by us. Every single time.
So I think the last part of the 5.3 is who stayed in the first, isn't it?
Yes, so this is the last discussion we have for today's video, right? Would be who survives, if that even is a question, and who gets to come back. So there's numerous theories, right? Firstly, there's the one that Y'shtola will stay behind with the Hrothgar dude, the Ronso guy that I can't remember the name of, which I find, whilst adorable, to be unlikely, unfortunately.
Yeah, not the poster girl of FF.
It's more likely that he comes with her. I don't think she would sell.
I don't think it's going to be possible to pull someone from the first.
Well, that brings us on to the other question. Reen.
Yeah, I think they're pushing more for her to be independent.
Right.
So I think she's going to tell Vancred to literally go back, and she's going to be like a Minfilia type and make her own sort of scions on the first.
So you think Reen's going to stay on the first?
She's got to, surely.
Well, the whole idea of bringing her through, you said wasn't possible, right?
So got the point is we've got 5.4 raid series which Rain has to be a part of.
That's true. So she has to stay behind so we have something to raid. I like that, actually.
I think it's going to be more that Vancred wants to stay and she's telling him, no, go. You know, sort of the child flies the nest kind of thing.
I guess.
Because he's basically a father figure. Yes. Although I do think randomly crazy theory that Alphino is going to stay on the first for some reason.
Alphino?
Yeah. I think he's going to become like an ambassador of Yulmore.
Oh my god, no. Not another Crystal Braves.
No. An ambassador to the Chais, because they're mayor, aren't they? So he's not in charge.
He messes up everything, though. I'm sorry for people who are watching this that like Alphino, but he messes up everything.
Yeah, it ties into the even more crazy theory that because Alphino stays in the first, we missed like our Arcanist type, so Tataru gets the combat class.
You just said that so you could get Tataru back.
Oh, no. And then she becomes one of the new jobs in 6.0.
What, completely useless at everything?
Oh, no, she actually gets a proper combat class.
That was your cue to mention Red Mage, by the way.
I hate Red Mage.
I personally like Red Mage, just letting everybody know. James hates them. That's all we're going to say.
Black Mage for the win.
Oh dear. Typical Black Mage.
But because what I was thinking of, we're kind of running out of people to use the Trust Dungeons coming up, apart from new NPCs.
Are we?
When we're not on the... Well, yeah, when you think about it, if we go back, we've got Orion J as a healer. Vancred as a tank.
Wouldn't they just fit back into their usual forms, though? where they
I mean,
don't have proficiency.
Well, that means Oriange's gone, so that leaves us with Thancred's tank.
What's wrong with Oriange?
Yeah, it only leaves you with like. Then we've got Alpha Note and Y'shtola as healers, and then 1 DPS.
Well, why don't we have? Hold on. What we really need is Fordola as a Scion.
Yeah, she's not leaving. I don't think she's going to play that big a part.
She'd be like Super Monk.
But I mean, yeah, we're kind of running out of, unless you just have the same 4 people.
I guess.
Doing every trust, but then that kind of...
How original do you reckon they'll be if they already have this stuff in the game coded? I don't think they'll be that different. I think they'll try and use the same archetype, the same...
Oh, yeah. I mean, Oriange's still going to be Astro. I think Y'shtola's going to stay Black Mage.
Maybe.
It just means we need a couple of NPCs for a bit more flexibility.
Well, stick Kryl in it. Stick...
I don't see Kryl as a combat class. She's never once got anywhere close to...
I don't know.
I mean, even when Xenos attacked... when Xenos was attacking, she got things. She didn't put up a fight, as far as we know. And she'd not come on any excursions or anything.
All I'm alluding to now in my mind is I'm thinking of all of the people that could step it up and become a proper, full-time...
I think the best... It's going to be Thancred and maybe Alvin.
Here you go. I have a secret to everything. The most powerful, underrated Scion ever. Ready? Hoary Boulder.
I forgot about Hoary
Boulder. Yeah, that character.
But everyone forgot about 2 years ago.
Everyone attempts to forget about Hoary Boulder, but no, I will not let it happen. Hoary Boulder is like the new... He's the president of the Scions. He's just this big, bulky guy, but we have absolutely no idea if he has any power, but he could probably just sit on you and it'd be fine.
We had a fight with him once and he lost miserably.
This is true, actually. I don't know. Maybe Hoary Boulder's been working on his etherology since we've been gone and he'll turn out to be a really good black mage.
No. He's got a brother and who's a conjurer.
Oh, right, yeah. So it'd fit. Would he be a black mage?
Yeah, there we go. Tataru.
Tataru.
He's going to be the OP poster child for 6.0's new class. Glut job.
Do you think that the next expansion, because it's usually like a pre-existing job, what do you think the poster job will be this time around that doesn't really get that much credit anyway?
They kind of go thematically, don't they? So it depends on what if we go in Gala Meld, maybe Machinist.
I was thinking Astrologian. Because it's the whole... I still have this weird feeling in the back of my head that Grahatir is going to appear Back to the Future style in the Crystal Tower and say, Meoni, we have to go back. Where? Back to the future. So
God. What, with a beard?
Yeah. It's just Grahatir.
Beard and a DeLorean.
Yeah, but a Crystal Tower DeLorean. It's just like a crystalline DeLorean. Ah, dear. That would be epic.
It's going to be based on the theme. I mean, Black Mage for 1.0, not for 1.0, for 2.0. Then Dragoon, Samurai, and Monk, and then Dark Knight. I forgot what the name was then. So, depends. I mean, if we're going... Depends. I mean, if we go to Favnaria, maybe a dancer would be...
Favnaria. Favnarian... The Isle of Favnir.
Yeah, that's one.
I don't know if we'll ever go there. As much as I want to, in my bones, I'm like, I want to go there. They'll probably just be mentioning it forever and never go there. Because Favnir has got this weird, crappy three-port mentality, a bit like Kagani had, where they're like, we're not taking any stance in anything, we're just shipping stuff. Very Rowena of them.
Yeah.
Money is everything. They you can hire them. They actually have a merchant fleet, as far as I remember, in the lore. They have a big fleet of ships with cannons on it, but you hire it. A bit like the Iron Bank in Game of Thrones.
Yeah, maybe where that's all the adventurers came for Stormblood when we was in the Far East.
Yeah.
Every day hired Favnirian merchant ships to carry them across.
Yeah. Then there is actually the Far West or whatever you call it. That like place that's supposed to be discovered. That's supposed to kind of be a little bit like Native America. That
We've also got
the New World.
Sardinia as well. Whatever it's called.
Where? Sorry.
Sardinia.
Oh, Mericidia.
That's one.
Yeah, Mericidia, I mean, as far as I know, is probably still underwater, right? But it'll be fun. That's where the whole thing happened with Bahamut before Bahamut was a primal.
Yeah, that's where the war against the Alligans was fought. Yeah.
Yes, it was, yeah.
Is it underwater? I don't think it was underwater.
I think, well, maybe not now, but there was a calamity that fucked it.
Oh, yeah.
There is that. I think it was the water one that swept over Mericidia because it was supposed to be like 1,000 feet tall waves or something.
Wasn't the water one the War of the Magi?
Oh, it might have been. See,
So
I get this stuff mixed up. There's so much lore that I love in this game that I mix up.
Black Mage Outlaw, doesn't it? Because the massive amounts of magic.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Pushed the imbalance too far, didn't they? And it was a massive tidal wave.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't Mericidia, whatever it is.
Mericidia.
Yeah. Destroyed when Alligan fell.
Yeah, I think maybe. I don't know why I thought it was the flood. Interesting. Anyway, there's so much that there could be for future places we go to and future places that, you know, mean something for the storyline and where the storyline eventually goes. But for the most part, a lot of that stuff is going to be sort of like optional hope that we get it sort of thing before the end of the game. But it's less realistic to think that they'll prioritize that stuff over stuff like the moon. You know,
I'm intrigued about what we're going to do after the end of Zodiac and Hydaelyn.
Well, I really don't.
Of the 12?
I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see because at that point you're in new story territory, and that's usually, I hate to say it, but Wrath of the Lich King for World of Warcraft was the last expansion that mattered to me because past that they had defeated pretty much the last big bad and everything else was just a creation in World of Warcraft, right? And it went downhill fairly storyline wise from there. So I'm hoping that they've got something planned that's meaty enough to be a real like thing, but I hope that they stretch it just long enough for the Zodiac thing to still be relevant. But at the same time, I don't want them to rush it either. I want a big, epic build-up to that final confrontation. Unless...
I mean, we can't actually destroy Hydaelyn and Zodiac.
Well, not as far as we know right now. But things change all the time, plot-wise.
I mean, game-wise, we can't, because then the first disappears, right? Because there's no one sustaining the shards.
Potentially, yeah. Unless there's a way of freeing them. But that might be...
Bound them both and left them.
I don't know. It's one of those things, isn't it, that could happen. But yes, there's a lot of interesting things to come.
I mean, you could literally then do like the recoming of the 12 and stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, one of the other things we've not looked at is the saints, right? All of those saintly beings. Like Aldthik and Beregot and those people. And I'd like to see a storyline with those, how they basically became anything more than just humans or normal people, or if they were Ascians or what they were, because they're regarded as deities that were on this planet, alive.
I want to know who the actual original primals were, like Ifrit, Garuda and that. That'd be cool. Because, I mean, what we've seen is not actually who they were or what they were.
Yeah, because it's alluding to the fact that they were versions of actual people or entities. Yeah. It's very, very, very interesting. But at the same time, a primal, for the most part, is the manifestation of hopes and dreams and prayers and thoughts, isn't it? Like, you've seen how the Warrior of Light with the power of Eden was able to create something in its memory, like Ramu, etc. So,
although not very well, apparently. Apparently our memory is shot at this point.
Right, but it's the same thing of when what we demonstrated there was the same thing we talked about with Emmett Selk creating Amarot. One slight miscalculation, one think, I'm going to think of a primal, and then I'm accidentally looking at some latex on the floor. Oh God! Suddenly, Ifrit's wearing a latex bodysuit. But I'm pretty sure that's how that kind of works. Your mind wanders, therefore the final creation isn't perfect.
Yeah, it does make me wonder what people like Ifrit and Garuda actually... I mean, Garuda makes sense for being a crazy lady. But, I mean, like Ifrit, they've got this idea in their mind of how they created them, obviously, which is what we see.
But it could be the manifestation of what you thought about their temperament as well, right?
Yeah.
Not just what they physically looked like. You could imagine just this... just this ball of rage.
Yeah, fiery temper.
Just this massive ball of rage and hell, and that's what it would appear as. It wouldn't necessarily have a proper form, and that's why, if you want to go from a lore perspective, how you could have such diverse etherical creatures like the primals. So,
yeah. I'd like to know where the actual religions these people, why they worshipped.
Yeah. Hopefully we get some answers. But...
that would be an amazing backstory.
It really would. And also, if you go by Final Fantasy XI, when they were done with expansions, they kept adding more storylines and things like that on instead of main expansions, just little patches and things and, extra bosses and things to go for. So it's not like the trials and dungeons will end, ever. It's just the storyline itself. The main one might eventually come to an end, and hopefully it's not with the end of Zodiac, but at the same time, I guess it would make perfect sense. It really depends on how long that they plan to milk this out for, and I mean that in the most sensitive of terms. I don't mean it in an aggressive way, to stretch it on, and at the same time, how long they're planning to go before they bring out their new IP, right? If 16 or 17 or whatever is an MMO, or if they're working on this for the next 6 years or something, there has to be a time limitation before they create the next MMO.
Yeah, because it's just not viable to redo the entire game engine, make a new game.
That's right. You need to start from scratch if you're going to do that, and it has to be a separate entity. You can't just... People are saying, oh, Meoni, this game looks so dated, I hate it. I personally disagree with that completely. I think this game is gorgeous and will remain to look gorgeous going forward. And hopefully with the eventual retirement of the PlayStation 4 and the PS5 having better processing power, perhaps we can see a little bit of a push of the envelope in terms of specs, maybe some better ways of shading, stuff like that. Not direct, mechanical changes, but I think visually we could see a few improvements going forward.
A few more polygons and stuff like that.
Right, polygon count go up, the cutscenes get much more, they can make the cutscenes much bigger, they could pre-render them with beautiful CG because it won't stutter on a PS5 in comparison, so to speak. So maybe that will be where we head eventually. But,
although I feel for the people with their potato PCs.
But it's also that, you have to make sure that people who are playing it now can still play it to some semblance in the future. And I think that's why they need to go past that stigma of going, oh, well, we can't upgrade the game, and actually realize, hey, we do actually have these settings. We have a low setting, we have a medium, we have ultra, right? Because in other games such as, I could mention a million of them, Arcade, for example, on the lowest possible settings, you can run that on a laptop from 2015, no problem. On ultra settings, it looks gobsmacking. Same with Black Desert. Everybody says, "Oh, have you played Black Desert Online before?" Yes, I have. It's got a terrible end game. I don't want to talk about it, right? And it's heavily pay to win. But the graphics are always the thing that people talk about. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Like how many polygons are in just an eyeball, stuff like that. But the low graphic setting in that game looks like an episode of The Simpsons. You can really drop it that far. So it's not like Final Fantasy has those limitations per se. They should just have recommended specs to work off, and then the maximum spec could be insane.
Oh, yeah.
As long as it's not affecting things gameplay-wise to certain points, like draw distance, LOD, stuff like that. As long as you keep that relatively the same, so it's fair that you can see enemies on a PvP battleground and stuff, You can tweak the rest of it as much as you want. You want to put foliage all the way up? That will actually be a handicap in PvP and stuff, but I'd love to see some luscious grass, like a big field, and like scorch marks that appear on the floor and stay there. That's possible.
Oh, yeah.
But whether they'll do it is another question. But I don't think it necessarily needs it. So
No.
I think this game has this aesthetic. A lot of people say it's very anime and cartoony. That's fine by me. Those are two of the things that I love about it. Its design is deliberate. It's not super realistic, and I think it benefits from that.
And it's not super cartoony either.
The only point I dislike about Square Enix is some of the outfits have pixelation on them, and if they try to embroider something on an outfit, it's like horribly stretched, like I'd done it in Paint, and that stuff's garbage.
I think they need to accept stuff. Stuff.
Yeah.
Stuff is just going to clip and say, look, it clips, deal with it.
Yes.
If you don't want to use it, don't use it.
Oh, in terms of clipping, I wish they would just put in the long hairs that I want, regardless of clipping. If people don't like it, they can change to the 155 million other short hairstyles. That's what I always say.
What they need is a hair length slider.
Yes.
So you can have the hairstyle you want,
yes.
and then the length you want. That would be perfect.
And along with a butt slider for people like Zeppler, who are actively campaigning for a butt slider, and I completely agree. We need more character customization, and I don't think that's something that is impossible.
Well, I think that's going to come, isn't it? When they said they're not putting in any other new races.
Yeah, don't put in any other races, but put in like variations and new face patterns. Oh my god, what you would give for an
slider?
I would love another like 5 face templates, or maybe face morphing. That would be great. Just a couple of sliders for cheeks and things.
Yeah. I mean, it's not impossible to put more customization in if they're not doing new races, is it? I mean, it's probably not going to take as much work as design a whole new race.
Well, they have unique face palettes, right, created for special characters such as Grahatir who have deformations and stuff like that, or characters that have lost their arm, Raban, for example, right? Those things actually take them a long time to create, but what if they had more templates where that would be an optional extra you could put onto your character? I think that would be... I mean, it would probably cost a lot less than creating a new race.
Yeah.
I think.
I mean, I think when they said no new race, they are going to put the new genders in, because for Hrothgar and Vieira at some point.
They have to. Talking of which, a Vieira is just teleported onto us. Yes. That could not be timed better. But a male version of Vieira is something that a lot of people are crying out for. And it does make sense to have a male and female version of each of the races before we go on anything else with character creation. So I would agree with that point as she shakes her head. I don't know why.
Then again, it's probably going to take less to put a gender male Vieira off a template for a natural Vieira,
I guess, but then
because they don't have to go through so much and change all the meshes.
Well, that's what they did with Makote to create the males.
Yeah, they don't have to change. I mean, that's why they said they're not making new races, because of how much they have to go through and change the meshes for all the old gear.
You have to remember, males are usually bigger than females in this game. So God knows what that would mean for a Vieira.
You take like the template and then basically morph like the male body from like a different one, like an Elysian male or something body with like Vieira unique head.
I've got it. They hire me at Square Enix, and I get the Rogadin male model, and I put bunny ears on it. There we go. Job's done. There's your male Vieira. Have fun. The comment section. They're crying, probably.
Then female Hrothgar is just a Lalafell in a werewolf outfit.
Female Hrothgar, isn't it just like... I don't know.
It's exactly the same. It's just they've got 6 nipples.
What the... Okay, that escalated. Oh, dear.
You know, big cats. You can get cat head.
Big cat head. What even is going on now with this conversation?
Hrothgar has the cat head, doesn't it? So therefore the female version would just be wearing like 3 different bikinis going down the chest.
Oh my god. So things we want going forward with character creation. Female and male versions of the ones we don't have. The ability to change your hairstyle as a Hrothgar without paying money.
Yes.
And then they could work on variants for sliders and butt sliders and hair sliders and stuff like that. That's how they should plan it out. We could agree on that.
Yeah.
Oh my god. So there we go.
Sorry for the people who have to buy a Fantasia just to change their hairstyle.
Oh, isn't it bad though? I feel so bad for them. I kind of want to give them a Fantasia, but yeah. It's like, oh, I'm going to change my hair. What, 2? Oh, right, yeah. I've got to go and buy a Fantasia now. Like, oh.
Well, at least if you go buy Fantasia, at least make it so all the fur is like highlightable and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's a bit of a cop out. Vieira get the decent pull of a straw, apart from their hats, of course.
Well, yeah.
But they've been doing slightly better on that front. I've seen a lot of the newer stuff actually equipable, but then again, it's mostly like tiaras and stuff. If you can't put a tiara on a Vieira's head, then I don't know.
Would it be just to basically cut some holes in the top of stuff?
Basically, what they do for Mikote, right? How
Yeah.
I've got helmets with holes in them because they just cut holes in them. Like we're not designing horns.
I don't think they even cut holes. They just literally let the ears clip through.
Yeah, there is that as well. It depends how old the gear is that you equip. Some like 2.0 stuff is just like, yeah, there's just clipping. Have fun. Which is fine by me.
I mean, they could have done that and just said, well, all the hats are going to clip, your ears are going to clip through. Fix it when we get around to fixing it.
Oh, dear. But anyway, the future is interesting from a storyline perspective and from a gameplay perspective. One of the other things I want to actually name one thing gameplay-wise that you would want from 5.3.
For 5.3?
Yeah, because we're going on to the next live letter soon. I want to know what's one thing you want to hear in that live letter, part 2, to flesh out something or to bring something new to 5.3.
The ability to make an alliance and be able to invite people to specific alliances.
Oh, that was really well thought out.
Because given with Bojar Forest coming out in Eureka style, being able to get 24 people and just be able to port into the same instant.
Yeah. And maybe make that retroactive for current content like Eureka as well. Oh my god.
Oh yeah. Yeah, but I mean, it's literally like being able, like you would with a party, but you'd basically just be able to make 3 parties at once, all in the same, and having one leader to come.
Why can't you do that?
In Party Finder, I suppose. But I don't know if it's actually...
I thought you could do that in Party Finder. I thought you could literally just create a Party Finder group for an alliance raid, and then you just everybody joined. I did that for the Blue Mage group.
Yeah. Although it'd be nicer if you could literally just invite people to it, rather than having to set up a Party Finder, then...
Oh, right, direct invite, and it adapts as you go. That would be a nice quality of life, where it just expanded the size of the actual party, depending on what you invite, instead of giving you an error.
Yeah, so then you could literally like invite certain people to certain groups. So then you could like have set groups, like you could invite to Party A or invite to Party B in your alliance.
That wouldn't be too hard either. That's a good idea. Very good idea.
I think it'd just be, it'd be nice quality of life. Just like, I've got 24 people who are going to we'll just invite people.
Yeah. I think one of the things I want to be answered from the live letter is how the next Baldessian Arsenal type dungeon type thing is going to work, because they mentioned it was going to be a thing in the Bosnian Southern Front, right? As far as I remember. I think it was supposed to be in like patch 5.3.5, right?
Yeah.
In theory. I want to know if A, they're going to do the same route where you have to be in the same instance to queue into it, or if we're going to finally get an actual party or duty finder option for that, for crying out loud, or if I'm going to miss another mount. Basically.
The way they do it, the worst way to do it is that you cannot go into the new Baldessian Arsenal if you're in a party.
Oh, God.
You literally have to solo it, so then it's like everyone has to solo, so then it's purely public.
Solo instance I wouldn't be against, but I do like the idea of a large group.
It's 50 odd people, but you're not allowed to be in a party to queue.
Yeah, but if they deal with a permadeath situation again, I'm not doing that.
God.
Nightmare. Imagine if you had no one, you had to literally be outside of a party and you're relying on other people to res you. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
People walk past corpses all the time in the open world.
50-person solo instant sort of thing.
That sounds like absolute hell.
It does. It's the new version of Ultimate.
Yeah. But anyway, we're going to bring this video to an end now. So thank you all kindly for watching. Leave your own stuff in the comment section. So what I'd like to see people say is, A, what you would like to see as the final form of Elidibus, or what you think might be the final boss of 5.3. That'll be very interesting to see your theories below. I'll look forward to reading them. We might do a follow-up with James just to go through some of those theories. That might be fun, because I love talking to James, as you might know. B, also what you are most excited for from 5.3, or if something hasn't been announced, what would you like to be the big thing that they announce? Within reason, obviously. It's not going to be a new class or something, but, you know, something that you want from the minor content of 5.3, be it quality of life, you know, things we can finally do. A lot of people have been asking for those craftable weapons. A lot of people have been asking, where's Van's weapons? Where's the glowy versions? So maybe this will be the patch. Fingers crossed. But that's pretty much it from me. What about you?
No, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we've rabbited on long enough. If you've got to this point, congratulations. You listened to probably like an hour of garbage. It feels like it. It must be. If it feels like that, it usually is. But thank you all kindly for watching. It really does help. And yeah, we'll see you all next time. Are we going to do a bow again?
Oh, hang on.
All right, ready?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1, bow. Again, there's a bit of time dilation there, but we'll see you all next time.
See you later.